A very good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Sabha TV. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be getting you through the top stories of the day. Let's start with the headlines. India and Cyprus agree on the need for all countries to act decisively against nations that sustain terrorism. Both the nations signed 4 agreements on cooperation in various fields. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley promises there will be no surprises in tax rates fixed under the goods and services tax regime, assures that rates will not be significantly different from the existing levels. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari addresses students of University of Warsaw, says imperative test of a true democracy lies in how it protects and respects the rights of minorities. And US President Donald Trump acts on his commitment to make partner nations share defense costs, asked for South Korea to pay $1 billion for the THAAD missile shield deployed near Seoul. Cyprus, the strategically located country near the Middle East, has promised to work with India on all international forums to fight the menace of international terrorism. The former Greek colony that lies near Syria and Turkey will strengthen relationship with India for trade and economy, including cooperation on strategic issues. Here's more from the summit-level meeting held between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Cyprus's president.
Terrorism dominated talks between visiting Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiadis and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Hyderabad House on Friday. Both leaders agreed on the need for all countries to act decisively against nations that sustain terrorism.
Given its location, Cyprus appreciates the threat that terrorism poses to the global peace and stability. India itself has been battling cross-border terrorism for decades. We agreed that there is an urgent need for all countries to decisively act against those states who generate, support, shelter, and sustain these factories of violence in our regions.
As we have noted earlier, are like-minded countries, and we will continue to promote our cooperation in order to contribute to stability, prosperity, and security in the world. In this context, we exchange views on developments in our respective regions and on international issues of common interest and concern, such as migration and conflict resolutions.
India and Cyprus signed 4 agreements, including cooperation in merchant shipping, air services, agriculture and culture, and scientific education. They also agreed on the need for early reforms of the United Nations Security Council. Prime Minister Modi also appreciated the support of Cyprus has given for India's bid for the permanent membership at the UN Security Council.
Both of us believe that a reformed Security Council, reflective of the world as it is and not as it was, is necessary to address the range of complex challenges facing the world today.
These agreements further enhance the long-standing relations between our two countries and that to extensive existing legal framework, which includes 16 existing bilateral agreements and memoranda of understanding.
With a foreign direct investment above $8.5 billion, Cyprus is the 8th largest foreign investor in India. It has invested in areas such as finance leasing, stock exchange, manufacturing industries, real estate, construction, shipping and logistics. President Anastasiadis also affirmed his stand to help India to facilitate the free trade agreement with the European Union.
Cyprus is a firm supporter of the enhancement of the EU-India strategic partnership and dynamic cooperation in all areas of mutual interest. In this context, I express our sincere support for tangible progress in the negotiations for the conclusion of an EU-India free trade agreement.
On Friday, President Nikos Anastasiadis met External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj to discuss areas of bilateral cooperation. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome by President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Modi at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Regional issues of Cyprus also figured in the talks with its president. Interestingly, Indian leaders will also hold talks with Erdogan, the president of its largest neighbor, Turkey, next week at a summit-level meeting.
Given the fact that Turkey's president is also coming to India next week, it is understood that India will try to find some midway between Cyprus and Turkey, and it will be a major diplomatic initiative of India in that region. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person D.K. Pandey in Delhi.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today said that the government is in the final stages of fixing tariffs for various commodities under the goods and services tax regimes. However, he also mentioned that the new taxes will not be significantly different from the current levels. The government has set the target for the new tax regime to roll out by the 1st of July 2017.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Friday promised that there will be no surprises in the tax rates fixed under the goods and service tax regime. He also assured the annual meeting of the Confederation of Indian Industries that the GST process is in its final stages. Jaitley asserted that the tax rates will not be significantly different from existing levels.
We are now in the final stages of fixing tariffs per commodity. The formula under which it is to be done has also been explained. And therefore, nobody really is going to be taken by surprise. It's not going to be very significantly different.
Jaitley insisted that the benefits of low taxes must be passed to consumers at large. Pitching the need to widen the tax net, he said tough steps are necessary to make India a tax-compliant society. The GST Council, headed by Jaitley, is slated to meet next month to finalize tax rates for different goods and services.
Profit is not a bad word. Profiteering is not a bad word. But unfair enrichment is. And therefore the benefit of a reduced taxation is a benefit which the consumers are entitled to.
The finance minister also spoke on the ongoing tussle between the government and the Supreme Court over Aadhaar
in the capital. A special court on Friday remanded 2-day police custody to an alleged Hawala operator in connection with the Election Commission bribery case involving TTV Dinakaran. The court also sent alleged middleman Sukesh Chandrasekhar to 14 days judicial custody. Earlier in the day, the Delhi police arrested Naresh Jain, a Hawala operator and another person in the case. Jain had allegedly helped middleman Sukesh Chandrasekhar in transferring the money. Chandrasekhar had allegedly offered money on behalf of TTV Dinakaran to the Election Commission to buy the AIDMK's 2-leaf symbol. Police also conducted raids at the residences of AIDMK Amma faction Dinakaran and that of his associate Mallikarjuna in Chennai. And here's a look at what else is making news across the country in Nationwide. Malegaon blast accused Shrikant Purohit moved the Supreme Court against the Bombay High Court's order rejecting his bail plea in the case. The court, however, said that the petition will come up in regular course instead of an urgent hearing. Co-accused Sadhvi Pragya Singh Thakur was granted bail in March. Kashmiri security forces on Friday foiled an attempt by militants to rob a bank in Anantnag district. The CRPF personnel immediately overpowered one terrorist and arrested him while the other terrorists managed to escape. One CRPF personnel also sustained a bullet injury. The Tamil Nadu government on Friday conveyed to the Supreme Court that no farmer has committed suicide in the state. The government also told the top court that drought is not the reason for farmer suicides. This comes after an NGO had moved the apex court, pointing to the increasing cases of farmers' suicides in the state. Social networking site Facebook assured the Supreme Court on Friday that users can quit the platform if they find the new privacy policy linked with WhatsApp unacceptable. Facebook did assure the top court that messages and voice calls over the platform were end-to-end encrypted and ensured complete privacy. The court, however, fixed 15th of May for the preliminary hearing on the matter. With that, a quick break here. Up next, we're getting you all the top international stories. Stay with us.
We are indeed in a, I would say, a golden age of astronomy if we look at capabilities that are coming up in the future. One of the key projects that the Institute of Astrophysics is involved in is the 30-meter telescope project, which is a global project to look at, to build the largest telescope on ground. This is a consortium of many countries. India is partner in that. India has roles where we bring in nearly 70% of the contribution in kind.
Watch Eureka with Dr. P. Srikumar, Director, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Homai Vyarawala, better known by her pseudonym Dalda 13, was India's first woman photojournalist. Vyarawala entered the field of photojournalism in the late 1930s. For nearly 30 years, till she retired in the early 1970s, at the peak of her career, she made a massive impact. Vyarawala clicked some iconic pictures of political and national leaders. Gandhiji, Nehru, Jinnah, Indira Gandhi have been subjects of her vast photographic collection. Prime Minister Nehru, she says, was her favorite. In 2011, Homai Vyarawala was conferred the Padma Vibhushan, the country's second highest civilian award. Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
The art of painting comes to us from the prehistoric period. Paintings are also a valuable source of information about their age. Like this depiction of the wedding procession of Dara Shikoh. The eldest son of Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan had a Mughal wedding with distinctive Indian elements. Like the veil he wears, to the pomp and show of the Bharat in Hindu weddings.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest now from the Vice President's visit to Warsaw. He, of course, addressed the students at the University of Warsaw on Friday on 7 decades of Indian democracy. Mohammad Hamid Ansari also asserted that an imperative test of a true democracy lies in how it protects and respects the rights of minorities. He further added that democracy can only flourish when divergent voices can be freely heard without a fear of a backlash.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari addressed the students of the University of Warsaw on Thursday. He noted that for the last 70 years, Indian democracy worked to the best of its capacity, although not yet to the best of its ability. He added that despite its success, there are many challenges in deepening and consolidating democracy.
Democracy is a self-correcting and self-improving mechanism. The solution to addressing the gaps and failings of democracy is indeed more democracy. It is when democracy stops working, when conflicts are not peacefully resolved, that violent separatist movements and religious conflicts emerge.
The Vice President underlined that India is a plural society of immense diversity with different social, religious, cultural and linguistic expressions. And in such diversity, tensions are unavoidable, and at times they escalate into conflict.
These are often local and transitory, and the same allegedly democratic process that generates them also helps resolve them in good measure. Public awareness, avoidance of extremist postures, and prompt corrective action by the administration assists the process. Absence of these, for whatever reason, aggravates them and causes damage to the social fabric.
The Vice President also praised the constitutional mechanisms that have maintained the democratic system in India. He highlighted that periodic elections, an independent election commission and an independent judiciary with sweeping powers of judicial review have helped foster a culture of democracy in India. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
In more international news, ties between the US and South Korea seem to be on shaky ground, with US President Donald Trump calling on its ally to pay $1 billion for the THAAD anti-missile system. With this, Trump has sparked heated reactions in South Korea, considering that it essentially means that his country's military support will come at a huge price. Trump also reiterated that a major conflict with North Korea was possible in the standoff over its nuclear and missile programs, even though the US prefers a diplomatic outcome to the dispute.
US President Donald Trump has called for South Korea to pay $1 billion for the THAAD missile shield deployed near Seoul. Trump's remarks are the clearest signal yet that he will materialize his commitment to having allies by calling partners to pay for what he has called a fair share of defense costs.
So, I informed South Korea that it would be appropriate if they paid. Nobody's going to do that. Why are we paying $1 billion? It's $1 billion system. It's phenomenal. It's the most incredible equipment you've ever seen. It shoots missiles right out of the sky. And it protects them, and I want to protect them. We're going to protect them. But they should pay for that, and they understand that.
Seoul has refuted the argument, saying the deployment plan was already settled in line with the South Korea-US Status of Forces Agreement. This agreement governs the legal status of some 28,500 US troops stationed in South Korea. To ensure a payment from South Korea, however, Donald Trump has threatened to renegotiate or even terminate the free trade agreement between the two countries. Meanwhile, Russia has said it will retaliate to any threat coming from Washington. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said deployment of THAAD in South Korea was an extremely destabilizing move that would only plunge the Korean Peninsula and the entire East Asia into a catastrophic scenario. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Korean crisis is just one of the many challenges Trump has faced in nearly 100 days in office. He marks the crucial milestone on Saturday, and reactions across the US and the world seem mixed. Approval ratings for the US president is at a low of 32% among young Americans. Here's a look at some of his controversial decisions and how a few of them backfired as well. The 100 days of an American president's term traditionally marks the end of the honeymoon period, a time to take stock of early achievements, launch new legislations, and set a new direction. But the scorecard for Donald Trump's first 100 days does not read well. Approval ratings for Trump is at a low of 32% among young Americans, and just 46% of Americans feel he has lived up to his campaign promises.
What's on his plate, he knows what, his expectations have been somewhat managed as far as what he thought taking that office was going to be like and what it is in actual reality. But the things that are on his plate today might change overnight tomorrow as far as, some issues that he has to address.
One of the issues he has successfully addressed just before the 100-day mark was taxes. Trump proposed deep tax cuts for many businesses, though the one-page plan offered no detail on how it would be paid for without increasing the deficit.
We are going to cut taxes and simplify the tax code by taking the current 7 tax brackets we have today and reducing them to only 3 brackets: a 10% bracket, a 25% bracket, and a 35% bracket.
When Trump was elected in November, Republican lawmakers joined his call to dismantle Obamacare in the first 100 days of his presidency. But Trump's attempt to do so ended in an embarrassing collapse in Congress. So did his funding request for a U.S. border wall with Mexico. He faced further embarrassment when a few courts thwarted his orders to ban foreign nationals from several mainly Muslim countries.
People feel the current administration is not reflecting the American values that people fled countries to come in and live under. So that been the general sentiment and disappointment to the American values that everyone respects.
India too has faced some worry. First, when Trump gave sweeping powers to security forces to check illegal immigrants, and recently a proposal to tighten H-1B visa rules. Details are still sketchy, and India is constantly in touch with US authorities. On the moral front as well, Trump faced backlash globally when he retaliated to the deadly April 4th chemical attack in Syria with a direct missile strike on Syrian government airfields. But the Congress is still hopeful.
I think the president's doing just fine with what he is promoting. I like the congressional review actions. I like the strike in Syria. I like the bunker buster bomb in Afghanistan. I like the more assertive foreign policy.
The big challenge he faces in the coming days is the North Korea situation. With the THAAD anti-missile system propped up in the south, Trump is in constant touch with President Xi Jinping of China, who has tried to calm tensions between the US and North Korea, but to little effect, as a 6th North Korean nuclear test may not be far away.
There's a chance that we could end up having a major conflict with North Korea. Absolutely.
If Trump's first 100 days prove anything, it's that politics is not business, and he still has much to learn and achieve. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And here are some more international news updates in Global Buzz. In Germany, lawmakers approved a package of security measures aimed at preventing extremist attacks. The measures included a partial ban on the full-face burqa. The prohibition includes public servants, election officials, military and judicial staff, and will not be allowed to wear the burqa while performing their duties. Jets believed to be either Russian or Syrian hit 2 hospitals in rebel-held Idlib province on Thursday, following several other strikes on medical facilities in northwestern Syria in recent weeks. Both Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Russia, whose air force joined the war, denied responsibility for the strikes at the hospitals. In France, a National Party leader who was temporarily expected to replace French presidential hopeful Marine Le Pen as head of the far-right party refused the job over allegations that he made questionable comments about the Holocaust. Jean-François Jalc, a vice president of the party, said that he did not want to take up the post because of allegations that he made questionable remarks about Nazi gas chambers. Nigeria's military said that at least 15 gunmen believed to be Boko Haram Islamic extremists were shot dead during a battle with soldiers. Officials said that the fighting occurred on Thursday morning when the extremists attacked a base in the Sambisa forest in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram's extremism, in fact, continues to carry out suicide bombings and other attacks in northern Nigeria, including against troop locations. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny suffered an eye burn after an unknown assailant threw green liquid at his face. Navalny said that the attack will not deter his anti-corruption activity and presidential campaign. That's all we have for you in the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.